With bold storytelling and unconventional characters, DreamWorks has made a name for itself as Disney's edgier younger stepbrother. But some fans have taken inspiration from the studio's alternate approach to kids' movies by injecting them with some truly bizarre and disturbing fan theories. From the twisted real reason Shrek is the last ogre, to how the trolls guaranteed their own extinction, as well as B-Movie's mutant problem and Kung Fu Panda's humanoid history, join me as we explore some of the most intriguing and unsettling DreamWorks movie theories. Killer Queen. The Shrek franchise is known for its clever spins on traditional fairy tales, but a fan theory suggests a darker twist on one particular trope. Similar to Sleeping Beauty and Rapunzel, Fiona's been locked up in a tower since she was a little girl. But have you ever wondered where she got her food? There's no sign that anyone else has safe access to the castle besides Fiona and the dragon. The place is locked down tight, so it's not like anyone's delivering pizzas up there.
Pizza time.
This suggests the dragon isn't just guarding Fiona, it's also feeding her. But the dark truth of what's on the menu is more shocking than you can even imagine. When Shrek and Donkey first approach the dragon's keep, they pass the partial remains of knights who presumably tried to rescue Fiona. You might assume they ended up in the dragon's belly, but some speculate these wannabe princes actually ended up on their would-be princess's dinner plate. It sounds crazy, but there's some pretty convincing evidence to chew on. While escaping the tower, Shrek and Fiona wander past a giant cauldron as well as a large open cookbook titled Nightly Treats. Since dragons don't usually cook their food in pots or at all, some theorists propose this culinary setup is for the preparation of Fiona's meals. If you take a closer look, you'll see the first thing on the ingredients list is none other than one deboned knight. And does this look like a dragon that cares if her meals are deboned? That's right. The conclusion is the damsel Princess Fiona may quite literally be a man-eater. As a secret ogre, it's possible Fiona may have an appetite for not flesh, especially at night when her curse transforms her. Upon waking in the morning as her human self, you can only imagine her horror when she remembers what and who she's still digesting from the night before. But there's another twist to this grisly theory. While it's clear the human population of the Shrekverse believe ogres eat people, we don't see any concrete evidence of this whatsoever. While Shrek does own a jar full of eyeballs, it's not confirmed that these are human eyes, so depending on what the truth is, Shrek could be horrified to learn about his princess's former diet. Sheesh, maybe it would have been better if Shrek hadn't rescued Fiona after all. How to Train Your Targaryens. While the How to Train Your Dragon movies are fun, animated adventures for all the family, some fans have unearthed evidence suggesting they might be the prelude to a much darker saga. Get this, there's a theory that How to Train Your Dragon exists in the same universe as Game of Thrones, and that Hiccup is the forefather of the dragon-riding Targaryen line. Now I know what you're thinking. Targaryens are known for their silvery hair, while Hiccup's hair is dark brown. But this may not matter. As seen in the Game of Thrones universe, having one dark-haired parent doesn't automatically mean dark-haired children. Hiccup's eventual wife Astrid's fair hair could have easily become a defining genetic trait of her descendants with Hiccup, much like the silver hair of the Targaryens. And indeed, one of their eventual children has light-colored hair. It's not hard to imagine that generations down the line, Hiccup and Astrid's descendants emerged as a noble family due to their unmatched skill with dragons. Some even suggest that Hiccup's home, the Isle of Berk, might be located west of Westeros, which if you've watched Game of Thrones you'll know is famously unexplored. It's theorized that a cataclysmic event akin to the Doom of Valyria devastated Berk. But the Hiccup Targaryen survived, possibly escaping on dragons to Essos. If this is true, it not only means that Hiccup and Astrid began the lineage that resulted in House Targaryen, but it would also make them distant relatives of Daenerys Targaryen and Jon Snow. Another link is the resemblance between Hiccup's emblem in How to Train Your Dragon 2 and House Targaryen's sigil. Definitely similar. HBO's House of the Dragon director Greg Yaitans even confirmed he took inspiration from the How to Train Your Dragon movies, so maybe he knows something we don't. While the theory is far-fetched and likely contradicts canon Game of Thrones lore, it highlights fun connections between the two worlds. Although considering the Targaryens' habit of sibling marriage, the relationship between How to Train Your Dragon's fair-haired twins Roughnut and Toughnut may be best left unexplored. Fish King. One of DreamWorks' more bizarre releases, Shark Tale, features an underwater metropolis inhabited by mob sharks, weirdly suggestive lionfish, as well as starring a fish Will Smith.
It's a little old school.
Among the numerous pop culture references on display in this fishy world, one background billboard stands out. While obviously meant as a clear twist on Burger King, some fans have wondered, in an underwater world inhabited by fish, what does Fish King serve? In our world, Burger King serves burgers, so logic suggests Fish King serves fish, hinting at a darker side of this aquatic society. While plenty of fish do eat other fish in real life, the implications within Shark Tale society are unsettling. Preyed upon fish like Oscar live together in Southside Reef for protection from carnivorous predators like sharks, yet restaurants there are serving various fish dishes including sushi. Does this imply weaker species like Oscars are on the menu of their local fast food joints? The logistics of running a Fish King restaurant raise further questions. Are employees expected to cook members of their own species? How are the fish sourced? Are they from fish hospital morgues or hunted for meat? Is there a donor system where fish can register to be used as food after death? The questions are never ending, each more horrifying than the last. Ultimately, the inclusion of Fish King is most likely just some subtle satire on consumer culture or a playful jab at absurd marketing. But after digging a little deeper, it really makes you question how this fishy society really functions, where it's either eat or be eaten. And with some of the theories floating around for DreamWorks movies, who knows for sure? Penguin Tragedy. In Madagascar, penguins Skipper, Kowalski, Private, and Rico exhibit extraordinary intelligence far beyond that of ordinary penguins. While their skills seem to have spawned from natural talent, some believe they have disturbing origins. The theory goes that these penguins weren't always the ingenious masterminds we know. Instead, they were once ordinary penguins in Antarctica. That was until they were captured by a covert scientific research facility and subjected to secret government experiments. The facility aimed to enhance animal intelligence for military use, teaching the penguins to understand human technology, operate machinery, build devices, and comprehend human language. After achieving such high intelligence, the penguins escaped the facility, intending to return to the wild. However, their newly advanced behavior isolated them from their former colony, leading to their capture and transfer to a zoo. Here they continued to observe and learn from humans while planning their return to Antarctica. Now, evidence for this theory is shaky, besides the penguins' military obsession and the fact that they are so unnaturally intelligent. But another potential clue to their origins appears when Private attempts to break the ship's control code in the first movie. If you look closely at the screen, you may notice a hidden message amid the jumbled code attempts. The message reads, "What a piece of work is Penguin." And if you're up on your Shakespeare, that might sound a little familiar. This is a reference to the tragic play of Hamlet, who, while pondering the complexities of human nature, exclaims, "What a piece of work is a man." While some believe the message in Madagascar is there to highlight Private's feelings of hopelessness while trying to break the code, it might be a subtle hint towards the penguins' complicated feelings about what they've become. So are these penguins simply happy to smile and wave, or is it just a front to mask their tragic past?
You didn't see anything.
It's all ogre now. Throughout the first three Shrek films, Shrek appears to be one of very few, if not the only, natural-born ogres. But why is this? The seemingly obvious explanation is that angry mobs of ogre hunters hunted the species into extinction. However, this explanation falls apart when considering the events of Shrek Forever After. In the fourth installment, our hero is tricked by Rumpelstiltskin into undoing his own birth. Shrek then finds himself in an alternate reality where he never existed, and yet a considerable number of other natural-born ogres have banded together to fight a common enemy. Some fans believe that because Shrek's non-existence resulted in a thriving ogre community, his presence in the original timeline played a significant role in their disappearance. In Shrek the Third, it's revealed that Shrek's father once tried to eat him. So it's not too far-fetched to wonder if Shrek's strange upbringing led him to develop a taste, or at least a bloodlust, for his fellow ogres. While Shrek Forever After doesn't hint that ogres eating other ogres is the norm, Shrek's family could have, in theory, been a particularly bad batch with urges to eradicate their competition. That would certainly put a spin on the explanation for all those pickled eyeballs we see Shrek hoarding. Could they be the last remnants from his ogre meat diet, saved as a special occasional treat? It doesn't bear thinking about. While there's no real evidence these eyeballs previously belonged to ogres over any other creature, there's another more likely explanation for the lack of ogres seen in the original timeline. It's established in the first Shrek movie that ogres are solitary creatures who enjoy living in isolation. This implies that in the alternate timeline of Shrek Forever After, the only reason they're able to be united by alternative Fiona is to fight against Rumpelstiltskin. So it's fairly likely they do exist in the original movies, we just don't see them thanks to their solitary swamp dwelling. Or at least that's what evil ogre-eating Shrek wants you to think. Boss Baby Mystery. In the Boss Baby, 7-year-old Tim Templeton's life is turned upside down when he discovers his new baby brother is actually living a double life as a secret CEO. Definitely an odd premise. In the opening scenes, Tim's parents, including his heavily pregnant mom, tuck him into bed and ask if he'd like a baby brother, to which he says no. The next day, the suited and booted Boss Baby arrives and chaos ensues. However, many fans believe Tim's adventure with the Boss Baby might not have happened at all, and the signs were there from the start. After his parents asked Tim if he'd like a baby brother, they set a marble machine into motion, and Tim falls asleep wondering where babies come from. Next, we see a gigantic baby-making machine in the sky with babies on conveyor belts mimicking Tim's marble run. According to the theory, Tim's bedroom is full of other clues suggesting he imagined the entire movie. For instance, his toy dog and barn may have inspired Puppyco, and his mousetrap set provides the basis for a trap seen later. There's also a pirate ship, cop car, and rocket ship, all of which show up in the movie. Some fans also believe there are background clues that signal Tim's slow acceptance of his new brother. For instance, the airport metal detector turns from red to green during a moment of brotherly connection, mirroring Tim's changing perceptions of the Boss Baby. From management boss to family member. It all sounds very Wizard of Oz, but it's clear Tim has a vivid imagination, making it plausible he invented the Boss Baby story to cope with sibling jealousy. In reality, he was probably sat alone in his room playing with his toys while his parents were busy with his new brother. While it was all a dream, twists are usually cliched, this theory definitely enhances the story. And though never explicitly confirmed, the clues suggest it's more fan fact than fiction. Death Wish. In 2022's Puss in Boots: The Last Wish, we follow Puss as he embarks on an epic adventure to restore 8 out of his 9 lives while being pursued by a terrifying wolf. When we first meet the wolf, Puss is sitting alone at a bar drinking glass after glass of milk, and if you look closely you'll see he's on his 9th glass, mirroring his 9th life. When Wolf appears next to Puss, he is even shown holding one of the glasses, possibly symbolizing that he's holding Puss's life in his hands. It's later revealed that Wolf is actually a manifestation of death on the hunt for Puss to claim his final life. But have you ever wondered why exactly death is represented by a wolf specifically? Well, some fans think they have the answer. Many fans theorize that Death can change his appearance based on his prey's fears. As humans, we typically picture Death as a cloaked Grim Reaper symbolizing our fear of the unknown. But for Puss in Boots, a cat, Death appears as Wolf, a canine. On top of that, Puss in Boots is set in the same universe as Shrek, where the population consists of fairy tale characters and creatures. And who is one of the most frequent villains in fairy tales and fables? That's right, the Big Bad Wolf. He appears in The Three Little Pigs, Little Red Riding Hood, and The Boy Who Cried Wolf, making him the embodiment of ultimate fear in a fairy tale world. Creepy. Kung Fu Curse. If you've seen Kung Fu Panda, you've probably noticed that the animals in the movies display many human-like traits. They wear clothes, enjoy human food, and even sport beards. Their society too mirrors our own with restaurants and familiar architecture. But some fans have interpreted these uncanny similarities as hints to an intriguing theory that the world has some hidden human ancestry. The theory suggests that thousands of years before the events of Kung Fu Panda, the ancient Kung Fu masters of the in-universe China were in fact originally humans who discovered a powerful Kung Fu technique that allowed them to shapeshift into animals. This transformation granted them the physical and behavioral traits of animals, thus enhancing their martial arts prowess. Proponents of the theory point to the TV series Kung Fu Panda Legends of Awesomeness, particularly the episode Ghost of Oogway. In the episode, characters use a Kung Fu move that lets them take on the appearance and abilities of other animals, just as the theory states. It's thought that in their quest for Kung Fu perfection, the ancient human masters decided to remain in their animal forms and mate to produce highly skilled infants. Because these infants were born as animals, they had no human form to transform back into, so slowly the animal population grew. As we know, in the world of Kung Fu Panda, only a select few possess talents for Kung Fu, while the vast majority are largely talentless. So perhaps the original plan of the Kung Fu masters to populate China with Kung Fu experts failed, and eventually resulted in the complete extinction of humans in the region. It has been reported the producers of Kung Fu Panda 4 did consider including human characters in the story, but seeing as they didn't actually do it, it's far from canon that humans exist in the KFP universe. Either way, the idea of a humanoid Po is pretty intriguing. But then again, we do already have IRL Jack Black, who is mostly human, to help us imagine. The Animals of Duloc. The fairy tale origins of many characters in Shrek, like the Gingerbread Man and Three Little Pigs, are obvious, but the mystery of Donkey's origin has caused quite a stir among Brogers. Brogers being the name given to Shrek fans. Though Donkey doesn't appear to come from any specific fairy tale, some fans suggest he shares a creepy connection with none other than Pinocchio. In Disney's adaptation of the original fairy tale, Pinocchio ends up on Pleasure Island, where rebellious boys can run riot without adult supervision. It's eventually revealed the boys are being turned into donkeys and sold. While Pinocchio escapes this fate, his friend Lampwick is transformed in what's recognized as one of the most horrifying scenes in cartoon history. Known in Carlo Collodi's 1883 original fairy tale as Candlewick, it's thought this character and Donkey are the same person. Since Pinocchio frequently appears in the Shrek movies, it makes sense that some transformed children from the tale may also be around. What's more, further clues are dropped in Shrek the Third. Donkey alludes to being bullied and receiving schoolboy wedgies when he was young, which only makes sense if he was a pant-wearing human at some point. When he and Puss in Boots exchange bodies, Puss struggles to control his hee-hawing in speech, which Donkey reassures him he'll learn to control, hinting that Donkey went through the same process. The only real flaw in this theory is that the filmmakers behind the first Shrek imply in the DVD commentary that Donkey was originally intended to be a regular donkey who was cursed. However, since the movie never reveals Donkey's true origins, it isn't actually canon. But perhaps Shrek 5 or even a Donkey spin-off movie will confirm whether the human donkey theory rings true. It's not only Donkey's origins that might need an explanation. While the Shrek movies are filled to the brim with subtle background details and Easter eggs, there's one background character I'll bet you've never noticed. When Shrek and Donkey enter Duloc, if you look closely, you'll see a shadowy figure inside one of the ticket booths. This is in fact Z from DreamWorks' first movie, Ants. But hold up, look at the size of that guy. Does this mean the ant characters in Ants were actually human-sized? Or is the Shrek universe made up of ant-sized creatures? So many questions. I need an eyeball martini. Trollstice Terror. In Trolls, we follow Poppy and Branch as they attempt to save their troll village from being eaten by the evil Bergens, who traditionally chow down on the creatures during a festival known as Trollstice. In the end, our heroes prevail and the Bergens agree to stop eating the trolls, and they all lived happily ever after. Or did they? Well, some fans have theorized that after the events of the movie where Bergens no longer consume trolls, a disturbing consequence emerges. In the initial aftermath of the deal with the Bergens, the trolls rejoice and begin living freely without fear of being eaten. But the theory suggests this happiness would be short-lived. You see, with their only natural predator gone, the trolls' population is likely to explode in numbers. As the trolls multiply, they'd rapidly deplete their resources and habitat. If the theory is correct, being eaten by the Bergens was actually ensuring the continued survival of the troll species as it kept the population at a manageable level. Without the Bergens, the trolls could eventually face mass starvation and economic devastation due to a lack of resources. But what do you think? Could trolls' happy ending actually spell the end of the species? I don't know about you, but I can't stop the feeling that this dark theory may be possible. The real Shrek. While the plot of Shrek is rooted in fairy tales, did you know the DreamWorks character may have been inspired by a real-life person? Shrek is said to bear an uncanny resemblance to a man called Maurice Tellet. Also known as the French Angel, Maurice was a Russian-French pro wrestler and world heavyweight champion in the 1930s and 40s. Aside from his wrestling career, Maurice gained fame for his unusual appearance caused by a condition called acromegaly, which triggered his hands, feet, and facial features to swell to enormous proportions due to an excess of growth hormones. Much like Shrek, Maurice was often judged due to his appearance, while some say he even had an extremely beautiful wife akin to Shrek's initial relationship with Princess Fiona. That being said, DreamWorks has never confirmed nor denied that any living person inspired the creation of Shrek. Not only that, but while this picture does somewhat resemble Shrek alongside Fiona in her human form, the woman in this photo is not Maurice's wife, but model Dorian Leigh. It's also a little-known fact that the DreamWorks classic character is loosely based on the 1990 children's book also called Shrek by American cartoonist William Steig. Steig passed away in 2003 and never spoke publicly about any connection between his grumpy green ogre and the French Angel. But what do you think of the claimed resemblance? Coincidence or secret inspiration? Let me know in the comments below. Mega Mommy's Boy. From the beginning of Megamind, it's clear the title character is completely smitten with reporter Roxanne Ritchie, and happily his attraction is eventually returned. But considering Megamind and Roxanne are completely different species born on entirely different planets, some fans have questioned what ultimately caused the two to find one another alluring. Well, one theory uncovers a very uncomfortable truth to answer this question. You may have heard the dating cliche that opposites attract, but some psychologists suggest people have a tendency to be attracted to individuals who remind them of someone familiar. With this in mind, some rather twisted fans have noted that Roxanne has strikingly similar facial features and general appearance to Megamind's mother.
Better hide that big ass forehead.
But hold up, am I really suggesting that Megamind has the hots for his mom? Thankfully, it's not that simple. You see, generally, folks aren't attracted to their parents in that way, but we are attracted to the feeling of safety brought on by familiar faces. Some studies have found our chosen romantic partners may resemble one of our parents, either physically or behaviorally, because stimuli we're exposed to more frequently are easier for our brains to process. It's the same reason many people develop a type. There's comfort in general familiarity. In context, despite being only days old when leaving his home planet, Megamind vividly recalls his parents' faces. Since no other female figure filled the gap left by his mother, Megamind may subconsciously be attracted to women who share her physical traits, including that big-ass forehead. Does it make sense? Kinda. Is it insanely creepy?
Indubitably.
BB Blue Eyes. In B-Movie, we meet Barry B. Benson, a young honeybee disillusioned by his assigned fate to produce honey. After venturing outside the hive for the first time, he breaks one of the bee world's cardinal rules by starting a relationship with a human. But beyond the movie's bizarre premise, some fans have spotted a seemingly innocuous detail that may explain some of the hero's odd behaviors. Strangely, Barry and his father Martin appear to be two of the only bees in the entire hive with blue eyes as opposed to brown. Seemingly, Barry genetically inherited his blue eyes from his father, but the real question is, in an almost completely brown-eyed hive, where do Martin's blue eyes come from and what do they mean? One theory is that this father-son connection is due to a genetic mutation that makes their brains inherently different from those of other bees. In the movie, Barry's aspirations to interact with humans is seen as very unusual, so some kind of mutation could be causing him to act differently to the rest of the hive. It's possible that Martin also struggled with strange thoughts when he was Barry's age, and that's why he tries so hard to dissuade Barry's instincts. Perhaps Martin had an out-of-hive experience similar to Barry's and was traumatized by an interaction with humans. This trauma might explain his lack of support for Barry's aspirations, as he could be projecting his own fears and past experiences onto his son. Ultimately, Barry's blue eyes likely serve a practical purpose for the audience, to easily identify the main character. It makes Barry stand out, while Martin's blue eyes simply ensure Barry's appearance makes genetic sense. But part of me can't help wondering if Barry's old man doesn't have a bit of human on the side somewhere out there. The old hound bee. Now think about this. What do you do when you're on public transport, cleaning your house, or you generally just can't stare at a screen? Do you still want to learn amazing facts and have your mind blown? Well, I've got the solution. Be Amazed is now available in podcast form. Look up Be Amazed on all major podcast platforms. Do you have any of your own dark DreamWorks theories to share? If you do, leave them down in the comments below and let me know if there are other movie franchises you'd like me to cover. As always, thanks for watching.